Hello, hello, hello. This is Sharon Rand, the pulpit wife, the coach for the preacher's wives. And this is the Preacher's Wife podcast. I'm so glad that you tuned in. And now that you're here, like, comment, and subscribe to the Pulpit's Wife podcast. Tonight, we have a guest that I'm excited about hearing from. And I've met her a couple of years ago, and how we met was on a group called Women of Movement. And I'm excited about the Women of Movement because it gave me a start on creating my book, my content for my websites, my podcasts, and a lot of things. But most importantly, it gave me the opportunity to speak. And I like speaking. I've become a certified speaker, and now I have a speaker in the house tonight who's part of the Women of Movement, and we call ourselves Eagles. I call Janice Burton the Marriage Planning Mogul. She's the mega eagle. She's the original eagle in this group. And so I want to introduce her just a little bit, just to tell you her name, because as they say in church, she's a grown woman. She can speak for herself. So, Janice, welcome to the Pulpit Wives podcast. Thank you for coming, and I look forward to hearing more about the Marriage Planning Mogul. Okay, Janice, it's all yours.
Thank you, Pulpit Wife. I am so excited to be here and to speak with you and the audience. I love talking about this topic. Yes, I am the marriage planning mogul. I coach, equip, and empower singles and engage couples to have healthy relationships and to prepare for the marriage journey. We've been trying to get this podcast together, and so I am ready to jump into this topic. Thank you so much for inviting me, Sharon.
You are so welcome. A little background on Janice and I's relationship. I have a son he was thinking about getting married, and he was going through some things before he got married, and he talked to Janice on a coaching level, and she walked him through some things. Within, I think, 2 months he was married. Now he has a new baby, and I'm
Yes.
excited because I know it works.
Yes, I am so excited for him. Those pictures of the baby, and that particular day, I really he poured out his heart, and I really admired him for having the transparency and vulnerability that he did that day, because it was a kind of a touchy subject, but he had the heart and the courage to ask the question, and we just kind of talked about it. So thank you so much, Coach Sharon, and I look forward to continuing this conversation.
Okay, then. And since then, he's joined church. So this is the one of the questions I want to ask you about. How important is it including the Lord in seeking a husband?
That's a great question. And I am a Christian coach. So everything that I do is rooted and grounded in biblical principles. I believe that it is super important for couples to be on one accord and to be equally yoked. I think that it is God who ordained marriage. He loves marriage. He loves to see men and women come together in unity. And I think that we have to start with God. So we have to start with a strong spiritual foundation. If we go back to Genesis, it is God that put Adam and Eve together. And we know that Adam and Eve were not perfect, but it was according to God's order, how he put them together, how he created the man first. And then he created the woman and presented her to the man. So I believe in God's order. And I think that's the only way to do it and do it properly.
Yes, I understand. Before you say I do to him, you say I do to God.
Yes.
Oh, right. That is so important. And when we grew up, this was something we heard all the time. You need to go to church where you can find a good man. And so the question here is, what advice would you give a young Christian woman looking for a good man at church?
Love that question. I love that question. It's multifaceted, and I think the church is a great place to be. It's a great place to worship. It's a great place to fellowship. And it might be a great place to find a good Christian man, someone who loves the Lord, and not just Christian in title, but someone who has an active worship life, an active church life, an active prayer life. However, it doesn't mean that's the only place that you can find the man or the woman that, if you're a man looking for a woman, or if you're a woman looking for a man, church is not the only place that you can find your spouse. I think God uses other places and other situations and circumstance to connect you to. But the church is a good place, but don't get stuck just being there, because as you all might know, there are all kinds of people at church, even the
Mm,
devil church. So
mm.
really rely on God. You have to pray and ask God to guide you. Trust in the Lord with all our hearts. Do not lean on our own understanding, but in all of our ways acknowledge him, and he will make the path straight. He will direct our paths. So that's one scripture that I encourage young women and young men to lean on. Lean on God and follow his guidance.
That's good. That is so good because we grow up with these anecdotes and these misconceptions. Before we say I do, we thought we did the right thing, went to the right place, and oh Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. And that leads me to another. Go ahead. Mhm,
I said, that's my story. I got married at 22. And at
mhm.
that time, I was doing the right thing for what we were doing. But I didn't consult God. I didn't pray and ask God to guide my steps. I didn't ask him, is this who I'm supposed to be marrying? I didn't take the time to really get to know this person. We had dated in college, but I really didn't know I didn't have anybody to pull me to the side and just ask me some questions about practical living and about life. And have you talked to God about this? As the old folks say, have you had a little talk with Jesus? Well, I didn't. So yeah.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. And how long or when do you start seeing these red flags that indicate a couple may need to address some of these issues before they get married?
The red flags are there from the beginning. Sometimes we are blinded by love or lust or feelings or good looks or all those other outward things, and we allow those things to blind us. But the red flags are usually there from the beginning, especially if a person does not keep their word, or if they have a temper, if they have an anger, they get angry easily. There are so many red flags. Even if a person is faking the funk, as they say, or their representative is showing up, there's still going to be some signs if we take the time to listen to what they say, if we take the time to watch their actions, if we take the time to watch how they treat other people, eventually that real person is going to come out, and those red flags are going to be there. But we've got to be looking for them, and we have to be aware, and we
Mhm,
have to use God's
mhm.
wisdom, because the red flags are there from the beginning.
Oh, wow. I mean, that's amazing. And how long? I mean, I know we can't tell, but how long does it take? You already answered that. Like they're usually there in the beginning. In the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So for a new bride to realize or a new groom to realize there's red flags, what would be the next thing they should do to try to tone those things down?
One thing that I encourage young singles and couples to do is take your time. Take your time. Do not rush into a serious relationship with anyone. Go out, have dinner, go to a movie, do those things, but don't put your heart out there so quickly. Don't put all your business out there so quickly. Take the time to build a friendship first. because those signs are going to be there. I say give yourself a year. If this is someone that you really feel you're connected with and you feel like this is God, but you have to know that God is doing it. But I encourage couples, take at least a year to date and to go out and to talk to their family, talk to their friends, get to know some of their friends, go out with some of their friends and see how this person interacts in other relationships, because they might be showing you one side and there might
Mm.
be the other side. But somebody, I say all the time, if you talk to some family members, there's going to be one family member who is going to tell you the whole truth and nothing but the truth about that person.
Yes,
There's
yes, yes.
They're going to tell you the truth about them. And so take your time. That I cannot, a pulpit wife, I cannot say that enough. Take your time. Please do not rush into a serious relationship, a committed relationship. Do not rush to get engaged, and definitely do not rush to get married.
That is powerful. Do not rush, because if they're there now, if it's for you, they'll be there then. Don't wait
Yes,
10 years and tell yourself, look, I made a mistake. By then, you're all in. And I like
yes.
what you said about a family member. It's somebody in the
Somebody,
family that's going to pull you to the side and say,
at
I
least
don't
one.
know. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, man, this is so good. Recently, we went on a trip and my brother asked us some questions. So I'm going to ask this same question to you. Should we compare our marriages to our parents' marriages?
Ooh, that's a really good question.
Yes, yes, yes.
No, we should not compare our marriage to any marriage. There are some experience and wisdom and nuggets and tips that we can take from our parents' marriage, especially if it was what we perceive to be a good marriage. There are definitely some things we can take from our parents' marriage. Even if there were some challenges, we can learn from those as well, but never compare, because your marriage is your marriage. Their marriage is their marriage. And truth be told, there's a lot of things children don't know about their parents' marriage.
Right.
Especially when I was coming up, we didn't know, children were not allowed to know everything. If something was going on, we didn't know it. So I think, don't look at your parents' marriage, even if it was a good marriage. Honor that, definitely honor that, and take some nuggets from that, take some lessons from that, but don't compare your marriage to your parents' marriage.
That is so true because it's just not the same. We're not the same people. Our oldest son was over yesterday and he said, I wish my wife was like Miss Pauline. She's an older lady and she was raised different. And, we are
Mm-hmm.
all raised to see what we see, like you said, the
Right.
father, the mother, the housekeeping, the working man. So we
Mm-hmm.
we just cannot compare. And I want to digress a little bit. Like you said, wait a year and to be sure. But after you get in there, after a year has gone by, and you feel like this is the place, how can you just keep that fire burning? How can you keep it burning after gone through the phase of the resume, I call it, to make sure you know this and all the checkoffs are there? How do you keep that going?
Great question. Number one is with God. Make sure you have times of worship together, pray together, study the Bible together, go on your date nights. And I encourage couples to do at least 2 date nights per week. You can do one at home, you can do one outside the home. Have regular times of communication where y'all are just sitting down talking about your relationship, strengthening your connection and your bond. There's a whole lot of things you can do to continue, because every day that goes by, you have to get a stronger and stronger and stronger connection. And it's not going to happen by itself. You have to be intentional. I love that word. You have to be intentional about
Mhm.
making sure that that marriage is going to work, because together you two are going to make it work. You're going to be sitting down talking, expressing your feelings. If something has been said or done that made you feel rejected or made you feel sad or even that made you feel happy, learn how to express your feelings openly and honestly.
Mhm.
Be transparent with your spouse, because your spouse is supposed to be your best friend. So you should be able to sit down and say, honey, you hurt my feelings, and be able to talk about that and express that. And another thing is learn how to listen. Learn,
Yes.
listen, listen to that. And I encourage couples, not only listen with your ears, listen with your heart.
Mm.
Take the time to just put your agenda to the side and listen to what's coming from their heart. It might not feel good, but what if what they're saying is truth? But
Mm.
they're doing it in your best interest, because each of you are supposed to have each other's best interest at heart at all times. So
That
those are
is
yeah,
that.
those are just a few things that will help you continue to strengthen that bond and that love every day.
Yes, I mean this is some of the things that I wish I was told in the beginning. It's 33 years now, so I guess I've learned along the way that,
Yeah.
sometimes what you said, to listen with your heart.
Yeah.
That way you can know when. Well, I'll ask this question. What advice would you give them when they have differing goals and values?
That
If they
that yeah, that's a very serious matter in relationships, because morally you should have the same values: honesty, integrity. You should um, be committed and be dedicated. But the honesty and the integrity, those are two big ones. Trust is up there with love, and I put trust up there with love, because I gotta be
Yes.
trust you. I gotta be able to trust what you say, and I gotta be able to trust what you do. So those values and those morals and those goals have to be to aligned with what you believe, your belief system. And I truly believe that two people have to be on one accord. It doesn't mean that you always agree on every little matter, but what it does mean is that the very foundation of who you are, y'all have those same morals and values. You're honest, you don't cheat, you don't steal, you tell the truth. Um, because if you're misaligned on those things, that's going to cause a whole lot of problems in your relationship. Because if a person is not honest, if one person is honest and the other one is not, that's a trust issue. If I can't, like I said, if I can't trust you, I can't
Mhm.
love you. So yeah, those. It's very important that people be on one accord with their goals and their values and their morals and what they believe.
Yes, that's like the glue that's gonna hold it together. Because if
Yeah,
we're not on one accord, why are we getting married?
right.
Before you say I do, this is a great conversation. Could you tell me more about what you have going on? I know you're an author, an entrepreneur, you're a speaker, you got several things at the Fire Sea. You've been on several podcasts, and you're just doing great things. And I like to give you this time to just tell the audience about what you're doing and what you have to offer.
Yeah, I am a speaker, a keynote speaker, public speaker. I love speaking. And as the pulpit wife mentioned at the onset, is we met in a speaking club, Women of Movement, and I have learned so much there. My confidence has increased. I am a speaker. If you're having some type of women's conference or some type of event and you need a speaker, I can speak on pretty much any topic, especially spiritual topics, marriage, dating, love, dating, relationships. And I'm also an author. I have a book titled Do I? Questions to Answer Before You Say I Do. It is a marriage planning resource for singles, engaged couples, even married people can go through it. But it's a book of questions, and all the questions begin with "Do I?" Because I want couples and singles to understand that you have to look at yourself first. You have to go inside of yourself first to make sure that you're ready for this commitment. You're ready for these vows. You're ready for a covenant. And that doesn't mean things are going to be perfect, but what it does mean is that you've taken the time to pray, you've taken the time to prepare, and you're ready for the challenge. So I have that book. It's on my website, marriageplanningmogul.com or doithebook.com. I'm also a podcast host, and my podcast is Marriage Planning Mogul. I am in the process of revamping it, so just stay tuned for the new and improved podcast. And I am a Bible study teacher. And what else do I do? I am those are the main things. The speaker, the
Mhm.
relationship coach. I do work with singles and engaged couples if they are engaged and they want to take the time to really prepare properly before they get married. I do relationship coaching as well.
That is all good, great information, a great resource before you get married, before you say I do. And if you are married, you can always go back and seek out the
Yeah,
planning that it took to get there with the Marriage Planning Mogul. And success, if you want to be successful in your marriage, the best thing you could do is get advice from
that's right.
someone who has an experience with that. And Janice Burton, I just thank you so much for chiming in and spending this little bit of time with me. I'm excited. This podcast will air October 31st, 12 a.m. And I'm going to make sure I advertise it for all of you to get an opportunity to hear it first before someone else tells you about it. And you
Yeah,
can go to Spotify on the Pulpit Wife's podcast. And again, Janice, thank you so much. And
thank
I look forward to getting with you again on something else that we can do together.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for having me, and thank you all for listening. And just hit me up if you know someone who's getting married and they want to go through some coaching. I am ready.
Okay. All right. So don't forget the Pulpit Wife podcast. Like, comment, and subscribe. Talk to you soon.